Have your attention, please, for the arrival of Her Excellency, the Honourable Linda Dessau, Governor of Victoria, and Mr. Anthony Howard. I now invite Her Excellency to address us.
Could I start by acknowledging Danny Roach, Chair of the National Australia Day Council, Carly Brand, the CEO, the Australian of the Year alumni who are here with us, and very importantly, the 2023 Victorian Australian of the Year nominees. We're really delighted that we're able to all meet in person and be together. And of course, we welcome all our distinguished guests that are with us this evening. Can I also start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathering, the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and to any elders who might be with us here as well. We are delighted to be welcoming you to the 2023 Victorian Australian of the Year Awards. During my time as Governor, we have had the privilege to cross paths with very many Victorians who've gone above and beyond for our community, and we've seen how they contribute immeasurably to our nation, how they make our state stronger, how they make us all better. And across these years, we've felt proud of each Victorian Australian of the Year nominee and award winner. Individually and collectively, they've given us the best insight into the goodness that abounds right here in our state. This year is no exception. Hearing of the talent and the achievements of our nominees this evening will be uplifting to everyone. Our local hero nominees will be an inspiration, I know, to all those involved in or contemplating any grassroots contributions. Our young Australian nominees show us that our present and, importantly, our future is in great hands. Our senior nominees prove yet again just how much we rely on the experience and the wisdom of our mature Victorians. And our Victorian Australian of the Year nominees demonstrate just some of the depth and breadth of the wonderful work and the wonderful people that are amongst us. The recognition that flows from these awards, I think, is particularly important. Like any nation, we depend on good leadership at every level of government. But I think that for us to truly flourish, we also depend on the leadership that grows upwards from the community itself. Listen this evening and watch on the 25th of January 2023 as the new Australian of the Year category winners are announced. You'll recognise them as people who are amongst us, serving us, looking after us, inspiring us. And as we congratulate and wish this evening's Victorian Australian of the Year award winners well when they head to Canberra, there are two things that I'd ask you to keep in mind. The first is whether or not they ultimately become the Australian title holder, we're proud and appreciative of them for all that they've done, and no doubt what they'll continue to do, because the people we're talking about this evening, I know, are people who will keep contributing whatever the result tonight. The second thing I ask is that we make sure that we make it clear just how proud we are of all our nominees. It is really great recognition to have been a finalist in the Victorian Awards. Between you, our nominees, and our award winners, you're amongst the finest Victorians, and we know that you are at the tip of a much bigger iceberg, as it were. So on behalf of all Victorians, I thank you, and I thank your family, your friends and your colleagues for the support that I have no doubt they've extended to you too, and I hope that some of them are here with you this evening to enjoy the occasion. I also thank those involved in facilitating these awards, particularly the volunteer members of the Victorian Australia Day Committee and the National Australia Day Council. And thank you, of course, to everyone involved, including the category sponsors. Finally, we hope that you and those watching from elsewhere will enjoy the ceremony this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I now invite this evening's MC, Jacinta Parsons, from ABC Radio Melbourne, to the lectern.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2023 Australian of the Year Awards for Victoria. Good evening, and thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Jacinta Parsons, as you just heard from ABC Radio, and it is my great pleasure to host this evening here at Government House. I'd like to acknowledge our distinguished hosts, Her Excellency, the Governor of Victoria, and Mr. Anthony Howard KC. I have to say, this is one of my absolute favourite events of the year because it's such a reminder that good exists all around us. Kindness, courage, generosity, sacrifice are all weaved into the rich cultural heritage of our country. One of the great things about Australia and being Australian is that we always come together over the shared pride we feel for the Aussie spirit and mateship that defines us as a nation. The Australian of the Year Awards are committed to showcasing extraordinary members of our community. The nominees are people who roll up their sleeves, start movements, create conversations, and lend a helping hand. The awards are not a role or a responsibility. They are recognition of those whose day-to-day efforts are making a real difference to the lives of others. Whether you're here tonight with us in the room or you're watching online at ABC iView or you're at the australianoftheyear.org.au, welcome to you all. You're in for a wonderful celebration of some incredible Australians. We do encourage you to show your support on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram using the hashtag #OzOfTheYear. For more than 60 years, unknown volunteers, pioneering advocates, and your humble neighbour next door have been nominated for the Australian of the Year Award. These awards are community-led, they're for the people, nominated by the people, and chosen by a diverse selection panel of representatives from across Victoria. Anyone can nominate someone who inspires them, and the online nominations process is open to the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The nominees you are about to meet demonstrate courage, resilience, and selflessness. In times when Australians are facing so many hardships, these are the people that are tireless in their advocacy and demonstrate what it means to be a great Australian. Our nominees come from all walks of life and have their own personal stories about what motivates them. Their stories are inspiring, they're moving, and they allow us to reflect, to respect, and to celebrate our collective human experiences of joy, grief, hope, and triumph, because we're all part of this nation's story. Now, if you're new to the awards, there are 4 categories: Australian Local Hero, Young Australian of the Year, Senior Australian of the Year, and the Australian of the Year. We received thousands of nominations this year for those going above and beyond. From those nominations, tonight we celebrate 16 incredible people recognised for their outstanding achievements who represent the best of our Victoria. This is no small feat. One recipient will be announced in each of the 4 categories, and those 4 will then go on to join the other state and territory recipients at the National Awards on the eve of Australia Day, which are announced by the Prime Minister and broadcast live on ABC TV and ABC iView. Whatever the outcome the evening, though, all our nominees richly deserve to be here. We congratulate them for their dedication, their perseverance, and their contribution to our country. Let us give them a rousing round of applause. Okay, the time has arrived. Our first 2023 Australian of the Year award for Victoria is the category of Local Hero, which recognises Australians making a significant contribution in their local community. At January's national event, we'll be celebrating 20 years of the Local Hero Award, which has been supported by the Department of Home Affairs since its inception. To all of our local heroes present tonight or watching online, we want to say a massive thank you for the contribution to your local area and to Victoria. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. It's so exciting. The nominees for the 2023 Victoria Local Hero are
ecologist Mark Bachmann left a secure job in 2012 with an audacious plan to restore wetlands, one of the most threatened ecosystems on the planet. He set up Nature Glenelg Trust to apply science-based thinking to the challenge. Mark has now brought more than 50 wetlands back to their natural glory. And Nature Glenelg Trust owns 8 reserves that are protected forever. Joanne Blake has helped save the lives of many vulnerable animals affected by crisis, disaster, injury or abandonment. She rescued animals during Gippsland's Black Summer bushfires, then the floods, and also got food to pets of people in isolation during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Joanne volunteers with the Animal Rescue Cooperative, distributing food and medical supplies throughout Gippsland and country Victoria. When Jack Levitt lost his friend Dr. Flynn Hargraves to suicide in 2018, he created Flynn's Walk as a memorial to Flynn and his grieving family and friends. It's now a charity that holds walks around the country. Flynn's Walk provides awareness, education and support to vets who are 4 times more likely to die by suicide compared to the general population. Belinda Young founded the Mums of the Hills Facebook group in 2015 to help mothers connect online and face-to-face in the Yarra and Dandenong Ranges. Belinda has also been a steady source of practical support and vital information through natural disasters, as well as during the 2020 and 2021 lockdowns. Her support and care have boosted the sense of community in the region.
Aren't they amazing? I don't know how I'm going to keep myself together this evening. We're so lucky to have these people in our community. Your Excellency, I now invite you to present each finalist with their certificate. Mark Bachmann. Joanne Blake. Jack Levitt. Belinda Young. How exciting that I get to open an envelope. The 2023 Victorian Local Hero is Belinda Young. Seat, and I invite Belinda to come up and join me on stage. I know. Shake your way up. Give her a round of applause. I'm here to hold you literally and metaphorically. How wonderful, and congratulations on this award. I want to ask you first up, how does it feel knowing that actually in the very first place someone put you forward for this award?
I was absolutely blown away that someone would think of me. I think that you put your head down and you're trying to help the community all the time. You don't really think about anybody looking at you or what you're doing. You're just focusing on making sure you make a difference. So it was a real shock that someone actually laughed and thought, are you joking? Really? Me? Yes.
That is so gorgeous. I mean, the work that you're doing in your local community has been recognised. It's so vital. What was the first inspiration for you to do this work?
Well, actually, how it all started was I fell off a ladder.
That's how every good story starts.
Yes. So I fell off a ladder and I realised that I was okay, but if I had screamed and screamed in this bush block in the middle of a forest, I realised that no one would have heard me at all. And I realised that for a new family, if we were going to flourish there, if we were going to survive and be really, really happy, then we needed to have a connected and support and have the skills needed around us to make that happen. So in essence, I needed a village, and so I made one. And so in the process of making that and building that village, I learned about all the issues and challenges that we faced in the area. I mean, the Dandenong Ranges is an absolutely beautiful area to live, but it does come with a lot of risks. And when people say that 1 in 3 Australians experience loneliness, when you put that in a mountainous area with a very complex topography, it makes it even more isolating. And for mums, which technically we all feel a sense of isolation and cut off from the rest of the community when we first have our children, to put that again into a mountainous area, it's really quite difficult. And so our online and our place-based community is really important for mental health, for connections, and for that support. We have so many things that I could go on and on and on about, but that's what kicked it off, that realisation that we need to survive up there, and if we're going to be able to respond to and recover to our disasters, then we need to be connected and we need to be resilient.
It's incredible people like you that go for something small like that event, and you have built this incredible support and resource. What have been some of the really wonderful outcomes that you have seen through the work?
I think the great outcomes are seeing so many mums being able to use chainsaws.
That was a good photo, I have to say.
That is so empowering, and it's just fantastic to know that, you know, you're on your school run and then there's a massive branch down in your driveway. Like, all right then, I'll go and get the chaps on, I'll go and get the chainsaw, and then we'll be on our way. So knowing that mums can do that they can survive, that's a great outcome. Knowing that so many mums know their first aid for children, we focus on that and making sure that those, of course, once they know it, they can then be there for other families as well in the playgrounds or at parties. That knowledge can be passed on. So they're the great outcomes. And then those social connections, that people are being able to support each other through the really, really tough times, especially when we've been through lockdowns and through the various disasters. To be able to support each other has been a great rewarding experience through that
Making that village.
Making the village.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask you, because you're so close to seeing what's happening in your area, what do you want to see happen? What's the biggest change you'd like to see?
Oh, there's
That's
a few.
tough.
That's tough. We're all about connection. We're all about support. So the biggest change I would like to see, and it's an important one, is to recognise that the NBN is an essential service.
Yeah.
We really need to recognise that the internet is a basic human right. And I've seen so many single mums that were choosing to pay for data over food and dry wood so they could keep working at home. And that was because our NBN was down for over 1/3 of the year between June 2021 and this year. So that's a really important thing. Another important thing that we really would like to see is more support for mums. Well mums make great families. When you leave the hospital with your baby, there is an enormous amount of support for babies, but not a lot for the mental and physical well-being of our mums. We need more support for that.
I'm so excited to say 2023 Victoria's local hero, Belinda Young. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Whew, it's going to be tough. I don't know how I'm going to stop crying for the whole entire evening. Let's get on to the Young Australian, I should say, of the Year category, which is supported by the Department of Education. This award recognises inspiring young Australians aged between 16 and 30 who have accomplished great things already and are making a positive difference. The nominees for the 2020 Young Australian of the Year are
At the age of 22, Molly Fergus sacrificed many of the fun things her peers were doing to become a foster mum to kids with complex needs. 6 years on, Molly has fostered 36 vulnerable children with special and complex issues, from newborns to teenagers, helping to improve the lives of dozens of at-risk children. Noel Lim was a law student when he came across 80,000 hours, a movement that views the hours people work as their greatest opportunity to improve the world. Noel has dedicated his 80,000 hours to doing the most good possible. 4 years ago, he co-founded Annika Legal, a free online legal service that helps people who can't afford legal fees. Darcy Macaulay Bartlett is a proud Gunny man who struggled through his teenage years, but now is a role model and advocate for better care for Indigenous people in prison. As a member of Victoria Police, he implemented the Aboriginal Youth Cautioning Program, which means fewer Indigenous people enter the justice system. And together with Corrections Victoria, he helped establish the state's first Aboriginal custodial health team. Sudanese-born Mohammed Semra was 16 years old when he and 5 of his African-Australian friends were stopped from entering a commercial store in Melbourne because of a perception they might steal something. It led the refugee and human rights advocate to co-found Endeavour Youth Australia, helping culturally and linguistically diverse students feel empowered to fight against systemic and casual racism.
It's so reassuring to know that the future of Australia lies with fantastic young people like this. Your Excellency, I now invite you to present each finalist with their certificate. Molly Fergus. Noel Lim. Darcy McCauley Bartlett. Mohammed Semra. The 2023 Victorian Young Australian of the Year is Darcy McCauley Bartlett. Your Excellency, I invite you to return to your seat, and Darcy, it's time to come up on the stage to join me at the lectern. Let's give him a round of applause. Wow. Congratulations. I mean, your passion is evident. There must be so much there. It's always interesting to find out what motivated you to do this work in the first place.
So, I'm a proud Gunai-Kurnai man, and my community mean everything to me. So I grew up in a kinship placement with my grandmother, with my family, you know, some of my family in and out of the criminal justice system. We see the failures in our system, and there's not too many advocates who really want to make change, who genuinely care. I luckily work with so many genuine Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and non-Aboriginal people who really want to make change for our people in custody. And seeing the failures that the system had given my family, this is time to make change and really start early intervention and prevention.
And talking about that change, what sort of impacts is your work having?
I think there are some positive impacts. There's definitely always room for improvement. I think for me is that one thing that's really important is that everything is self-determined. Our community have a voice. We now have a say. So in the work we're doing, my community, our prisoners, are telling us what they need for rehabilitation or integration, and we're making it happen. There is, probably the take home for me, is we are past acknowledgments and good intentions. It's time to stand up, get up, and really make change for our community, and that's how we do that.
It's incredible. What outcomes, you know, I mean, that sounds like it's deeply what it is, but that you're working towards?
In theory, we're really looking forward to reducing the incarceration rate of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, but also really looking at improving health outcomes. If your social emotional well-being and your general health is not okay and not in the right space, how can you focus on anything else? People can turn to addiction to manage pain. They can turn to addiction to manage their social emotional well-being pain. So how, if we can't support that whilst they're in our system, how can we get to a better future? So that's what we're leading to, is reducing incarceration rates and ensuring better health outcomes for community.
This work is incredible, but the fact that you are a young person in community doing this work, what would you say to other young people who want to get in and affect change in their communities?
We might be young, but we are the future. This is our voice. We will be heard, and with the right supports, the right voice, just stand up, stand up and show up, which is this year's NAIDOC theme. So get up, stand up and show up. It's never too young and you're never too old.
Darcy, congratulations. A huge round of applause. I'm going to say it to you. 2023 Victorian Young Australian of the Year. Thank you and congratulations once again. Category partner, the Department of Health and Aged Care presents our next award, the Senior Australian of the Year. This award celebrates the ongoing achievements of our passionate and committed Australians aged 65 and over, who inspire change and just won't take no for an answer. I personally love this award as we learn so much from our elders, and it's their resilience and positive attitude that impacts the generations to follow. The nominees for the 2023 Victorian Senior Australian of the Year are
Since the terrible Ash Wednesday fires of 1983, clinical psychologist Dr. Rob Gordon has dedicated his career to helping communities and emergency workers recover after large-scale disasters. Rob has built a body of knowledge about the lasting effects of trauma on communities. His person-centred approach to disaster has now shaped the way organisations work with communities after crisis. Robert Litsky battled addiction for 30 years, but he turned his life around and now helps others do the same. He founded Foundation 61 in Geelong in 2005, a rehabilitation centre that offers men with addiction a 6-month live-in program. He's also setting up a facility for women. Robert's dedication and care has helped hundreds get their lives back. Vietnam veteran David Martin served in the Australian Army for 21 years and has been Administrator and CEO of the Murray Valley Centre for People with Disabilities since 1985. A member of the RSL since 1969, he was awarded the RSL Meritorious Service Medal in 2016 and named Wodonga's 2022 Citizen of the Year. He's dedicated 20 years to assisting military widows, children and veteran families. Professor Frank Oberkleid is an internationally recognised authority and advocate for children's health. The paediatrician has dedicated his life to helping children with development and behavioural issues. Most recently, he worked on a mental health in primary schools program, which upskills experienced teachers in ways to reduce students' mental health issues. It's now in more than 100 Victorian schools.
Your Excellency, I now invite you to present each finalist with their certificate. Dr. Peter Rob Gordon, OAM. Robert Litsky. David Martin, OAM. Professor Frank Oberkleid, OAM, to be received by his son, Michael Oberkleid. The 2023 Australian Senior of the Year for Victoria is Professor Frank Oberclade. And we are extraordinarily professional with our technology. We've got Professor Oberclade joining us via Zoom. To return to your seat. And Professor Oberclade is actually going to be joining us via Zoom. Thank you, Michael. You've done a very good job as the child of Frank's. Congratulations, Professor Frank Oberclade, for this award and the 2023 Victorian Senior Australian of the Year. We've found out from our other winners their inspiration. What has yours been to provide such dedicated service to your community?
Well, first of all, thank you for the award. I feel very, very humbled. I'm a paediatrician, so my career has been helping young children with problems. And in my clinical practice, and I think for many paediatricians, there's hardly a child we see about whom we think, I wish I could have seen this child earlier, because so many of the problems that paediatricians are asked to see, particularly with mental health issues and developmental issues, can be prevented. Or if we could have detected them earlier, we could have stopped them from getting more serious. So as I was seeing these children one at a time and having these thoughts, I wish I could have seen these children earlier, it prompted me to start researching what are the antecedents of these problems, and importantly, what can we do to stop these problems from occurring in the first place, or when they do, to pick them up as soon as we possibly can. So that's been my career, and it's been humbling and wonderful.
What would you say have been, through this extensive career of yours, some of your greatest outcomes and achievements?
I think the mental health in primary schools program, where we're putting a mental health and wellbeing coordinator in every primary school in Victoria, because teachers are just in an ideal position to detect problems as they're starting to emerge when children first struggle. So that's exciting, and the Victorian government has had confidence in our program to extend it to every school. I think there have been lots of highlights, but I think that the everyday highlight for me has been working with young children and families. There's something about children, their innocence, their promise, their potential, that makes all of us really want to make a difference to their lives. And the research that we've done and colleagues overseas have done suggests that if we have healthy children, we have healthy societies. And it's like building social infrastructure. We talk a lot in this country about building physical infrastructure, bridges and roads and electricity grids. We don't talk nearly as much about building social structure. And yet I would argue that in the end, that's equally as important, as healthy young children grow up to be healthy, well-adjusted adults and contribute to society. So that bigger picture is terribly important. But working with individual children and families has been a wonderful, humbling experience for me.
The Senior Award, as I mentioned before, is a real favourite because it's about bringing that wealth of experience, often through career or life, to the work that you do. You've kind of touched on it there. What would you like to see being the major change in the way that some of your work is able to be done?
I think I would like to see an appreciation of just how important it is to invest in young children, that it's an economic argument as well. As I said, healthy children grow up to be healthy adults and contribute to society. And the converse is true. The children that don't have good life chances or struggle in struggling families don't reach their potential. And we live in a sort of treatment society. We tend to wait until problems become entrenched and then treat them. And it's challenging and difficult. It makes so much more sense biologically and also economically to prevent these problems from occurring in the first place. And we have pretty good research now that tells us exactly what young children need to thrive and prosper. and also those factors that pose a risk. So I think I'd like to see increased focus on prevention, increased understanding of the need to invest in young children early on.
Obviously, Michael, your child is the greatest achievement you've ever made. But in terms of this award, what does it mean to you?
It means a lot. My parents were refugees and didn't have any education. So I was the first person in my family to go to high school, let alone have a tertiary education. So they're long deceased, but they would be very proud. My father, who was essentially uneducated, always said education is so important. And I think I've learned through him just how important education is for everybody. So this is really a testament, I think, to Australia, who gave my family a second chance at life. I came here when I was 3, and Australia has given my parents and me and my children, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of families, the opportunity to live our lives to potential. So we'll always be grateful to that. And I think we should all be proud of our country.
It's great pleasure to say 2023 Victorian Senior Australian of the Year. Thank you and congratulations once again. It's our final category for this evening. It's the 2023 Victorian Australian of the Year Award. It's been proudly supported by Australia Post, who was at the heart of Australian communities, connecting them with each other and the world. The Australian of the Year Award celebrates the achievements and contributions of eminent Australians who are role models for us all. Let us take a look at the amazing nominees in this year's Victoria Australian of the Year category.
Meredith Allen speaks using the technology that physicist Stephen Hawking used during his life. She's worked for most of her life to improve outcomes for people with complex communication needs. Now, retired after nearly 30 years in the public service, Meredith is still helping to create a world where people who have communication difficulties can interact successfully with everyone. In her 3 decades as an artist, Marie Clark has reconnected Indigenous people with lost aspects of country and culture. The Mari Mari, Yorta Yorta and Bunwarang Wemba Wemba women's pieces are based on objects in museums, and she uses them to encourage conversation about Australia's past. She also teaches other mob groups the traditional practices she's learned. Paediatrician Dr. Angraj Killan has been instrumental in delivering healthcare and education to culturally diverse communities. He co-founded the Health Awareness Society of Australia in 2018 to dispel misinformation about health. Its volunteers lead sessions in community languages on topics including mental health, obesity, and COVID-19. This is just one of the many ways Angraj is making a positive difference. Lauren O'Keefe set up the Missing Persons Advocacy Network in 2013 after her brother Dan went missing in 2011. The network provides practical guidance and emotional support to families and friends of missing Australians. Lauren publicises the stories of missing loved ones in innovative ways, from billboards and coffee cups to social media campaigns, helping mobilise the public.
Your Excellency, I now invite you to present each finalist with their certificate. Meredith Allen. Marie Clark, represented tonight by Vivian Anderson. Dr. Anraj Killen. Lauren O'Keefe. The 2023 Victoria Australian of the Year is Dr. Anraj Killen. Your Excellency, I invite you to return to your seat, and I invite Dr. Killen to join me at the lectern. How wonderful to look at you and say, congratulations, 2023 Victorian Australian of the Year.
Thank you.
How did this work of yours begin? What was your motivation?
Look, always motivation start from small little thing. My motivation started when I started working in a western suburb, which is the most multicultural community. And 30-40% of my patients are for multicultural community, Indian subcontinent, Asian, from African community, Middle East community. And when I started practicing, and there I realized there is so much of social stigmas, taboos attached with each diagnosis, each healthcare issues, and whatever advice we give to this community, majority of the time it's either partially followed or not at all followed. And that gave me the motivation, this is the time I need to work something. And then of course, my own Indian background helped me to understand the cultural sensitivity of how the culture and tradition attach with each diagnosis and how we perceive and follow the advice given by the medical professional. So that's where I started thinking about, no, it's the time to make a difference. And I founded a Healthcare Awareness Society of Australia, where we are working to create awareness in our multicultural community about so many healthcare issues our community is facing.
What do you think has been one of the biggest impacts of this work?
Look, the biggest impact, I think, it been in during this COVID. Yeah. And there was a lot of misinformation about COVID and its vaccination. So the biggest impact during COVID we had, in fact, is improving the uptake of vaccinations, breaking the barrier of vaccine uptake in multicultural community by giving them information face-to-face wherever possible, and also online lectures about the true factual information about in their own language, the Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, Arabic. So when the information goes in their own language and cultural sensitivity way, chances of acceptance of this information is much, much higher. Yeah. And that made a big impact in increasing the vaccine uptake in our community. And after once the pandemic is getting over, now we are working on post-pandemic effect of mental health issues in multicultural community. And that is, we are making a big difference in that too now. Thank you.
The Australian of the Year Awards, you know, we've seen that they certainly give past recipients this incredible platform to affect change. Or, you know, start a conversation that this country needs to have. What would you like to see as the next step for your work?
I think this is a big platform. It's a huge platform to pass on the message to our community, and particularly to our healthcare professional. We all are doctors. We are working hard for our living. This is the time we need to start working outside of our comfort zone, started doing something for our community, started doing something for humanity, where we are not being paid for that. Always everybody, I know graduate doctors are very highly paid and they earn a lot, but this is the time we need to, as a medical professional, we need to work outside our comfort zone and work for the community without being paid. And that will make a huge impact in our community.
It's incredible. Are you ready for this? Loudest applause you can muster. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2023 Victorian Australian of the Year. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So wonderful. Congratulations. So wonderful. I think keep that applause going. Let's all join together in asking our 4 recipients for 2023 to stand. Let's show our appreciation. Stand up for, I know it's shy time, but this is the moment where we get to really say thank you and congratulations. Huge round of applause. Congratulations again to everyone involved. Don't forget to think about who inspires you and nominate them now for the australianoftheyear.org.au. On behalf of us all, I wish our nominees every success in their future endeavours. To our recipients, we wish you all the best in the next stages of the program. Bring it home for Victoria. This brings us to the end of the formal proceedings. Don't forget to tune in for the National Awards on January 25th, the evening before Australia Day. Just like tonight, it truly is a beautiful and inspiring event. Please stand if you are able for the first verse of the Australian National Anthem and the departure of the Governor and Mr. Howard. And whilst you're upstanding, I would say one more raucous round of applause for our recipients and nominees. This is the time when I have so much power and I could keep you standing for a long time, but I won't. I'll invite you to sit down again. In a moment, our award recipients will be invited to join the Governor and Mr. Howard for a photograph, and guests will be invited to stay and enjoy the hospitality of Government House. To all 16 nominees here today, congratulations. someone in your community thought you are amazing, and you all are. Now, none of this would be possible without our partners. We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the generous organisations who make these awards programs possible. Firstly, with some brief messages from our National Diversity and Inclusion Partner and our category partners.
Ingenuity,
creativity,
And innovation.
passion,
purpose, and the pursuit of excellence.
inclusion,
And the idea of a fair go.
At Chevron, we believe in human energy.
That's why we support the Australian of the Year Awards.
as the National Diversity and Inclusion Partner, celebrating the achievement
Of outstanding Aussies. And from every walk of life.
Because we're all part of the story.
For over 200 years, Australia Post has been at the heart of Australian communities, connecting them to each other and the world. We're thrilled to recognise the incredible Australian of the Year award recipients who make such a profound contribution to their communities and to our nation. We're proud to support the Australian of the Year award and join you in celebrating these inspiring Australians.
Senior Australian of the Year Award recognises and celebrates the incredible achievements of older Australians around the country. As the Minister for Aged Care, I want to congratulate all of you on being nominated. Ageing well means staying healthy and connecting with community. Improving the lives of others shows your continued passion and commitment to living well. I wish you all the best in the finals, but importantly, I want to acknowledge that every one of you should be proud of your continued achievements. You are an inspiration to all of us, and your legacies will benefit the nation for generations to come.
As the Minister for Youth, I'm thrilled to congratulate the 2023 State and Territory Young Australian of the Year finalists. Your perspectives as young Australians on major issues and decisions our country faces are unique. It's invaluable to engage with young people and to hear your innovative ideas. You've each been recognised for the significant contributions and unwavering dedication you have given to your communities, having a real impact on people's lives. These outstanding and inspirational achievements should be celebrated and commended.
Australia's Local Hero Award is a celebration and acknowledgement of those in our communities who reach out a hand to help others. Their selfless actions have a life-changing impact on those around them. Thank you to each of the finalists for being outstanding role models for all of us. Congratulations.
Thank you to our media partner, Australian Community Media, who supports our call for nominations nationwide through their leading rural and regional news brands. Thank you to our alumni partner, the International Day of People with Disability, which is marked on the 3rd of December each year. We thank our official hotel partner, the Crown Plaza, Canberra. We appreciate your warm hospitality for our recipients, especially in January. We would also like to thank our cultural partner, the Australian National University, who supports us through its School of Art for the trophies and School of Music for our announcement, anthem, and events in January. Our thanks also go to exhibition partner, the National Museum of Australia, who deliver the Australian of the Year exhibition around the country throughout the year. And last, but certainly not least, we appreciate the continued support of our legal partner, Minter Ellison. Please join me in thanking our partners for their vital, ongoing support. Our thanks to Chevron, Australia Post, and the Department of Health and Aged Care, Education and Home Affairs. We also like to thank our broadcast partner, the ABC, and ABC iView, who connect us with communities all around Australia on TV, radio, and online. I'd now like to invite our recipients who are present to join the Governor and Mr. Howard in the drawing room for an official photograph. Guests, please stay and enjoy the hospitality at Government House. Distinguished guests, thank you and enjoy your evening.